Hi everyone, I'm Charles Zhang, and my project is Raspberry Pi with Google Home. The initial intention of this project is to integrate a system of Raspberry Pi as an interface to the real world, with Google Home as a smart home control that is capable of automatically trigger the collection of environmental data with sensors and achieve automation execution of certain tasks according to the data that was collected. However, the automatic trigger mechanism of collecting data is unable to achieve at this point. It still requires user to give command to trigger the collection. The most significant input of Raspberry Pi in this project is the temperature and humidity sensor that was connected through GPIO. GPIO is a physical interface that takes only digital inputs, high voltage or low voltage, correspond to 1 or 0, and since it is programmable, the data will be able to read and translate to useful information. Since Raspberry Pi is based on SoC, stands for System on Chip, therefore it doesn't really classify the definition of South Bridge nor North Bridge. Some peripherals are directly addressable by the CPU. Other peripherals such as Ethernet, USB hub, power management, or GPIO expander are addressed over the relevant peripherals buses. The communication between Google Home and Raspberry Pi is an entire architecture. Google Home sends a trigger request to IFTTT, stands for if this then that service. When IFTTT being triggered, it will send a pre-composed message to Gmail server that contain commands for Raspberry Pi. Gmail server will then compose the message to an email and send it to a designated address, which is Dropbox Cloud Storage. Dropbox Cloud Storage will then store the content of the email as a text file. On the other side, Raspberry Pi will keep pulling files from Dropbox. Once the latest file is downloaded to local, Raspberry Pi will execute the command on the file, which is start the data collection. Once the data collection of temperature and humidity start, it will push all the data to the ThinkSpeak, an open IoT platform that provides MATLAB analysis service. From there, the data could be involved into a serious complex analysis, calculation, or algorithm as needed. It could also be passed by to the next interface, such as an AC control or Google Home announcement service. All the programming in this project are written in Python, which is a great language for a simple script. Start from the hardware part of the project. I set up the DHT11 temperature sensor with connecting the pin to GPIO by use jump wire. One pin goes to ground, one pin goes to 3 volt, another pin goes to data. The rest of the project will be focused on the software. To make the input data understandable, I will install Adafruit Python DHT library. This will allow me to write a script in Python to manipulate the input raw data from GPIO and convert them to useful data. Then I will connect my Google Home device to FTTT service to allow me to send a pre-composed email to Dropbox through my Gmail. This function was designed to trigger by itself when the temperature above certain threshold. However, now it triggers by my voice control. Then I start a new channel on ThinkSpeak. There are 3 fields in the channel that will be used to organize my data: temperature in Celsius, in Fahrenheit, and humidity percent. API access code of this channel is needed for the communication between Raspberry Pi and ThinkSpeak. On the Raspberry Pi end, a script was used to keep pulling the latest file from Dropbox and run its content as command, which is to run another script to turn on the sensor to collect the data and push the data to ThinkSpeak platform. And here's the result
Okay,
I will
as
show
you
you.
can see right now, I have my temperature sensor to connect to my Raspberry Pi and also connect to my monitor. And here is a background process that is currently running on my Raspberry Pi. when I tell Google Home to connect to collecting the temperature, there will be a Python script that is running on the background of my Raspberry Pi. Okay, Google, start temperature collecting.
Okay, temperature collecting enable on Raspberry Pi.
Alright, it just shows up. The PID for the task is 1617. Alright, so over here is okay. As you can see right now, I have my temperature sensor to connect to my Raspberry Pi and also connect to my monitor. And here is a background process that is currently running on my Raspberry Pi. When I tell Google Home to connect to collecting the temperature, there will be a Python script that is running on the background of my Raspberry Pi. Okay, Google, start temperature collecting.
Okay, temperature collecting enable on Raspberry Pi.
Alright, it just shows up. The PID for the task is 1617. Alright, so over here,
There are many ways to accomplish each task of the project. A lot of them I have tried won't work. Some are because I couldn't understand it all. Some are just not working for no reason. Well, there could be reasons, but I couldn't find it. Like I was originally planned that I want Google Home to give command to Raspberry Pi directly. However, there isn't an API on Raspberry Pi nor Google Home that allow two of them to communicate directly. I have to use some medium to let them talk. I found webhook to be useful, building a server on Raspberry Pi and let Google Home access the webhook. So I built a web server used Flask. Then I realized I couldn't get access to the network router since I'm using a public Wi-Fi, and I couldn't establish a SSH port forwarding. All my requests will be blocked by system firewall. So I was thinking, why not use a server that's already there to build a connection between two devices, since I couldn't build one of my own. Use Google Home to send email is a very common function, so I found if TTT could make this happen. I can send a command to trigger an automatic email sending function and let Raspberry Pi read the email. Since I could not build a server to let the Raspberry Pi receive the email, I would have to let Raspberry Pi to pull the email from another server, which is the Dropbox. There is still a problem right now. If TTT is a single direction communication method, that means only Google Home can tell Raspberry Pi what to do, but Raspberry Pi cannot report anything back to Google Home. I will need another way for that. Either use the if TTT to talk back, or let Google Home take the data that was posted on ThinkSpeak. But it would be another difficult task for me that I couldn't really get it to work because I do not possess any knowledge of Google Home API development. So, lesson I have learned. Like I mentioned before, I learned how to build a web server on Linux. I understand a lot of concepts more thoroughly, such as IP address, port, SS forwarding, TCP/IP protocol, and firewall. I also wrote and modified some scripts written in Python. It makes me more familiarized with this language. I have also dealt with some APIs, such as Dropbox, ThinkSpeak, Google Home, and several other network services when I try to establish communication between the two devices. Overall, I really like this project, even though it didn't reach to the original intention. Thank you for watching.